Gravity Falls, Season 1, Episode 5, The Inconveniencing. I love me a good ghost story, like The Haunting, for example. And I do mean good, because there are some really bad ones, like The Haunting, for example. And honestly, I'm running out of ways to say that this show is really good at tackling whatever genre it decides to tackle each episode. Even episode 4, which was the creepy stalker genre, was still really good. I just didn't like it very much. It was more of a personal preference thing. The episode was still very well put together. And now that we're back to a genre that I like more, I am back to being wholly amazed with this show. The humor was so much more on point than it was in the last episode. The scene after Mabel eats that stuff and she's like tripping balls was absolutely hysterical. And I love that Stan, too lazy to get up and find the remote for himself, ends up watching a romance movie they didn't want to watch and loving every minute of it. That was just so perfect. Not to mention the smaller gags that are interspersed all throughout the episode, because this episode could have been really cringy. This episode was all about Dipper realizing that he's got a thing for Wendy and wanting to impress her by hanging out with her friends. And there were a couple moments, especially early on, where we were supposed to cringe away, cringe back, and feel embarrassed for Dipper because he was trying too hard, but none of those moments lasted too long, which was great. So after Dipper and Mabel and Wendy's friends go out together and decide to check out a supposedly haunted convenience store, hence the inconveniencing, I assumed that we were going to get more moments like that where Dipper failed to prove himself and ended up looking like an idiot, but once again this show surprises me by not going the easy route. Instead, Dipper does prove himself. He and Wendy's friends actually have a really good time together and they come to accept him. But because teenagers are always ribbing on each other, Dipper's now worried that if he acts afraid, they're going to change their minds about him, and maybe they would. But I'm sorry, when he's seeing the things that he's seeing, when he's seeing the creepy stuff that he's seeing in this convenience store throughout this episode, it's okay to be afraid. And before he was sure that there was a problem, he handled it exactly the way he should have, suggesting that maybe they leave. That maybe coming here wasn't such a good idea. Which, real quick, let's go on a tangent to talk about the creepy stuff he was seeing. It, in and of itself, wasn't that creepy, at least to someone of my age, but his reaction, combined with the really well-drawn imagery and the ambiance and the score and everything, actually did leave me feeling a little creeped out every once in a while. It was well done, and I can imagine this being really thrilling for kids watching the show. Just wanted to get that out there because I was worried I was going to forget to mention it. All of that said, I like that this episode points out that sometimes kids, as in preteen kids, are more reasonable than teenagers. In a way, that was actually kind of the motivation of the ghosts, who were old people who don't like teenagers but like younger kids. And yeah, they were kind of awful just judging teenagers based on the way they looked, and that was kind of played up as a joke. But the episode played it completely straight, too. Teenagers are really concerned with appearances. They're really concerned with people seeing them in a specific way. Kids tend not to care about that. Especially kids like Dipper who are already so sure of themselves. So it was really neat to see that Dipper was the most reasonable person in this group, and it wasn't unbelievable. It made sense that he would be the most reasonable person in this group. And I also really love how Wendy starts to defer to him once all the creepy stuff starts happening, because while she is a teen and while she does seem concerned with appearances, she is perfectly willing to accept how smart Dipper is and how capable Dipper is and listen to what he has to say. And I loved how, at the end, he had to embarrass himself to get rid of the ghosts. First of all, that scene wasn't cringy. It came off as a heroic moment because he's doing this in front of Wendy, this girl he has a crush on, and there's a very real chance she won't like him anymore after he does it. A cringy moment was passed off as a heroic moment. That is such an accomplishment. But I love how after he does it, because she's the only one who sees it out of the group of her friends. After he does it, she, instead of embarrassing him, she builds him up because she realizes how brave he was in that moment to do this thing. It was just so cool. I really loved it. Wendy is such a great character. And now that she's been included properly in an episode, I'm expecting we're going to get a lot more like this, and I'm super excited about that because I really like her. I may not have liked episode 4 very much, but especially after seeing this episode, I am still so psyched to continue watching these episodes, and I'm so happy to be back after my 2-week break, back on my weekly schedule, watching one of these each week. All that said, guys, what do you think of this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.
Maybe I've had too much. What do you think?